if you study any of the literature out there, or you're involved in IT at all, you know that it's not if your organization gets hacked, it's just a matter of time. And I think that anyone who is in IT and feels responsible for what they do needs to understand what the incident handler process is like, whether they're actually going to be part of the incident response team or just involved in a peripheral. If you work in IT, you have to understand the process. So that's really what motivated me to take that course. I wanted to really understand, and since EC Council is the leader in the field in cybersecurity training, I felt that was probably a good course to take. And anytime when you're in IT and you're having conversations with people who are also in IT, having a certification kind of elevates the conversation, because it shows that you have a basic understanding and a basic knowledge, but more importantly, you've taken the effort to learn more about a subject. So having a certification kind of helps when you're having conversations with management, with upper management, when you're presenting, to say, hey, this isn't just something that I read about in a magazine article or watched a YouTube video. This is something I took seriously and studied. So, boy, I could talk for hours about that, but in a nutshell, one of the things that I love about EC Council courses is it's not just about knowledge transfer, it's about process. They always include in every single one of their certifications a process to follow. So if you have no idea what to do, there's a process laid out for you that you can start with, and you can adapt it. So I don't care how big your organization is or how small it is. So I would say from a career standpoint, it gave me a really good solid footing of how to move forward with developing an incident response plan for my organization. Aspects of the program that appealed to me the most were its root or its base, its foundation in real world experiences. You can tell that EC Council involved a lot of subject matter experts. People are involved in the field and deal with this on a daily basis, because it wasn't supposition. I felt when we were studying the material and getting the material that this is what happens every day. These are the things that you need to have in place. And they did it in such a way that you saw what a small organization would look like and what a large organization would look like. And they took time in the presentation to say, hey, if you're a one-man shop, these are the things you want to consider. But if you're part of a very large organization, these are also the things that you want to consider. So I just think that perspective was unique and really, really assisted me in understanding the material, but more importantly, in implementing. Absolutely. I work in a public K-12 school district. So what's unique about that environment is we not only have to face the threat actors on the outside of the organization. I have a bunch of middle school and high school age kids that are curious about security and cybersecurity and constantly hacking the network. What the course really helped for me was to solidify my processes for dealing with an external incident versus an internal incident. If a kid is being curious, and when I first started in the district years ago, about 20 years ago, I had a much different attitude. But now, in a school district, I'm not encouraging kids to try to hack their school district network, but it's kind of a safe zone, because the response isn't going to be the same as if you're a threat actor on the outside. From a response in terms of my team, the response is the same, but as far as the discipline goes and the process, I look at it more of an educational opportunity for the kids. But what the process did for us is we had an incident where a kid had watching some YouTube videos, had crafted the ability to access his computer from home and was using it to play games during the day. But he was downloading content onto his machine. Now, it was temporary content. As soon as he rebooted his machine, it was gone, but it was impacting the network traffic. So we saw that, and using the steps we learned, we were able to quickly troubleshoot and isolate it, that it wasn't an issue on the machine. The machine hadn't been compromised, but the network traffic was being utilized at a high volume. We were able to isolate it, locate it, and respond very quickly. And he knew, as soon as I showed up in the classroom, he knew he'd been caught. So that's where taking the process that EC Council taught you and being able to apply it at work allowed us to react rapidly. So instead of it taking us, weeks to figure out what was going on, we were able to resolve it in a matter of hours. And to me, that's a huge thing. So I have a lot of different certifications with a lot of different organizations, ISC Squared, ISACA, SANS, and what I think separates EC Council from all of the other certification programs, and what the CIH program really did for me is I mentioned this before, but based in reality and practicality. It's not about the theory of, it's not about, oh, here's a step on how to do just this. It's part and parcel to a process. So when they talk about being an incident handler, they don't talk about, oh, well, as an incident handler, you may do this or you might do this. They say, all right, if you're going to be an incident handler, you have to understand there's a policy that provides the authority to do what you're doing. There are processes that have to be developed. There are steps you have to do before you ever talk about responding to an incident. There's things that you need to do and follow when you're doing an incident. And by the way, after the incident is finished, there's a lot of work that has to be done on the back end in terms of lessons learned. You need to modify your policy. You have to revisit your tool, processes, your procedures. So it is a complete, what I would say, a complete package. What I found with a lot of my other certifications is they impart a lot of knowledge. They give you skills and steps, but they don't provide what I would consider to be a complete package. So if you're coming into incident response and you have no idea what to do, and you're looking at potentially other courses to take, in my opinion, the EC Council is the only course to take if you want to walk out the door at the end of the course and know what you need to do. I would say it was critical. I've been telling everyone that I know that if you are involved in incident or you're a manager, you need to take this course. Because if you're a manager, you need to understand what an incident response team is going to do. You need to understand what resources you'll need. You need to understand how the process works. If you're on an incident response team or you're a SOC or you're a cybersecurity analyst, you can't work in an isolated vacuum anymore. There's no silos that are protected from other silos. And I know a lot of organizations have the silos, and incident response is about, there are no silos. You have to cross all different areas inside of IT. And if you don't understand that process and how it works, you're actually becoming a detriment to creating a solution for your organization. You're more part of the problem than you are part of the solution. So I would say it's critical. I think you need to take this course. I think one of the things that EC Council does really well is they update their material on a regular basis. If you just go to the website and look, you can see that they've got maybe a 12, 14, 18-month refresh rate of the certifications. And what that says to me is that it's not that they're finding flaws or problems, but they're trying to stay current with technology. And we know, perfect example is artificial intelligence. How has that changed the game? It's changed it tremendously. 2 years ago, you could spot a phishing email easily, especially if they came from foreign countries because they were worded so poorly. Now with the introduction of artificial intelligence, they're spot on. I mean, you have a very difficult time identifying sometimes phishing emails. Well, you know what? EC Council covers that in the training. They talk about that. So they're staying current with current trends, and I think that that's critical. And once you've got the certification, once you understand the resources that they're using to help update their material, because they share all of this in the training. It's not like a big secret, oh, this is where we get our information. They share it. They want you to know where it's coming from because they want you to succeed. And I guess that's one of the things that I really enjoy about their programs is from day one, you get the feeling they're not interested in you failing. They're interested in you succeeding. And I just think that really comes true and comes through in all the training we do. I think that if I look back at what I thought an incident response plan should look like and what I thought was involved with an incident response, I had a lot of gaps. But it's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know. So by getting the CIH certification and by taking the course, because it is a large, big picture course, because it talks about the details, because it talks about how things should happen from start to finish, starting with the policy to the after action review at the end of an incident. There were a lot of little things that I didn't have. And I knew because I've read a lot and I've read some books and I've looked at some sample incident response plans, but the EC Council course allowed me to take the information and really customize it for my organization. And as I did that, I realized I had gaps. And there were meetings and conversations that I needed to have. There was buy-in that I needed to have. There were just a lot of things that occurred as I was working on the plan that before I had put together a plan, I had just simply missed. So there were a lot of gaps, and the CIH certification helped me fill those gaps. So I've been in IT for 35, 36 years. I started out as a programmer. I was a database administrator. I was a network administrator. And I've been managing for the last probably 30 years of my career. And everywhere I went, I've had to learn. It's been a constant process of learning, which I think has allowed me to stay current and allowed me to grow. About 12, 13 years ago, we had an incident at school. We had a group of students who were hacking our network and being quite successful. And I realized I just didn't know. There was so much I didn't know that I began my cybersecurity career journey then. And I started learning about security in terms of the network. And security had always been a thing. I mean, firewalls, I knew all of that stuff. But the fact that the kids were successful at circumventing some of the security I had in place made me realize that I had a lack of knowledge in that area. So I started taking courses, and then I found EC Council. And I really just have been impressed with the training and the programs they offer. And I've gotten a lot of certifications through EC Council. And I've gotten some certification through some other organizations as well. But I think one of the things that I like the most about EC Council trainings is the holistic approach they take to everything. And in the incident handling course, they talk about how this overlaps with the SOC, how this overlaps with threat intelligence, how this overlaps with disaster recovery. So they show you that this isn't just an isolated thing. I think a lot of certification courses I've taken focus on a specific task or specific process, and I don't want to call out any vendors particularly, but a lot of vendors do that. They want you to know their product, they want you to know their thing or their approach, and that's it. Where the EC Council takes more of a holistic view and they say, hey, these are worldwide certs. There are people in other parts of the world that have different problems than you do, and we're going to talk about them so you understand, and we're going to talk about how these things interlace with other areas and they interface with others. And so from a cybersecurity journey standpoint, I'd say that I've come a long way in the past, probably close to 20 years. Council has been a large part of that. Every time I take a course, every time I get a certification, I feel like I've grown as an individual, both professionally and personally. And one of the things that, and I'm going to tell you this right now, when you walk away from the EC Council class, you're not finished. You have a list of things that you have to research, things you have to look into, because if you're going to be good at what you do, they're giving you the tools, but they're not telling you how to use them, so you've got to actually apply them. So there is a lot of work after a class if you're going to implement the things that you've learned. And that just, I mean, it's been very successful for me. I think I have a very successful security program here where I work, and I attribute a large part of that to my training that I got from EC Council. So I've taken a lot of EC Council courses, and I have a lot of their certifications. And I've taken it to the point where I've actually become a certified instructor for EC Council, and I teach the cybersecurity courses at the local community college. And I would not be doing that today if it wasn't for the EC Council programs. Like I said before, they truly mesh together. I feel comfortable saying I'm a cybersecurity professional because of the different certifications that I've gotten from EC Council. I believe they've given me a very well-rounded overview. You can go for some of the top cybersecurity professional certifications that are out there that people are looking for, and they give you a good overview, but they don't give you the depth that you need to actually apply what you've learned. And I feel that EC Council, they care about a lot of things. They care about the reputation. They care about ethics. They want to make sure you're doing the right things for the right reasons. They care about the individuals that take their courses. They want them to improve. They want to provide good foundations so those people can grow their careers. They can become better at what they're doing. They can learn. Every course I take bumps up against some other area. And if I haven't had any experience in that area, then that drives me to want to learn more. And EC Council makes it easy to do that. When you look at their portfolio and the certifications that they offer, it's all based on real world skills that are needed now. It's not about theory. It's not about, get this fluffy certification and you can say you know how to do this, but you don't really know how to do it, but you recognize the buzzwords. It's about what skills do I need to be successful today, and how will those skills that I learned today help me be ready for tomorrow. And if I had to say that there's a training organization out there that is comparable to the EC Council, I'd be hard pressed to say that. I think every other certification authority out there has a specific skill set that they're looking for to train, or a specific task or area, and they want to say, we're the best at this. And I would say maybe they are okay. Where EC Council says, look, we're the best at preparing you to do the work. We're the best at preparing you for a solid future. And once you've taken one of our courses, you're going to realize that for as much as you didn't know before you took the course, there's a lot still for you to learn. So if you're looking for a career path, you could start with their foundational courses, work all the way up to the CPENT if you want, or the CISO course. And by the time you get there in terms of your journey, you will be able to call yourself a cybersecurity professional, because you'll have not just the certifications, but the experience, you'll have the knowledge, and you'll have the skill sets you need to succeed. So that's my approach, and that's what I would recommend to anyone if they're looking to become a cybersecurity professional. And that's kind of been my journey. I think that if you're talking about incident response, and what is an incident, how do you identify what an incident is, how do you identify the proper response? You can go to Amazon and you can download, purchase a few books. You could go to NIST and read some documentation. But at the end of the day, if you haven't lived an incident response and you haven't lived it done properly, you still don't know what you're doing. And this is talking, for someone who's been doing incident response for a year or been doing it for 15 years. Until you really do it right, until you understand the full process, you're doing it wrong. And you're leaving yourself open for opportunities for failure. Not maybe immediately, but down the road. So what I would say to anyone who's looking at taking a course in incident response or understanding how incident response should be done, you need to take the EC Council course, because you'll get that. You'll get the 30,000-foot sea-level overview of why it's important to have an incident response plan. You'll get the overview of what a policy looks like and how it can grant the authority to the individuals in your company to do what they need to do. You'll get the overview of the grunt, who's the first responder, knowing what to do when they show up and there's an incident going on. They'll have the process and procedures that they've developed because they've done all the pre-planning, which if you didn't know you needed pre-planning, the program will teach you that. So I would say that if you don't take this course, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you've been doing this for years, you need to take this course to understand what you've been missing. And I think just in terms of the whole body of knowledge, it will make you a better person from an IT professional standpoint. And I just think from a personal growth standpoint, just because of all the resources that it mentions, you'd be surprised at what's out there in the world that's legitimate versus what's out there in the world that's not so legitimate. And it's amazing how many of those not so legitimate sources make themselves really known. They're great at marketing, but when it comes to substance, it's not there. And what EC Council does, and they do really well besides the process, is they point you at resources that they've vetted. So you know that the content is good before you're out there. So once again, if you need to know about incident response, this is the course to take.